As you walk through a medieval hill town, keep your eyes open and notice the pairing of a big wide door. To the left or right of it, a narrower door. The narrower door is called the death door. Disreputable guidebooks tell you it was built to carry out a body. No, you would never add a door to a house just for a funeral. The death door has to do with a violent period called the Middle Ages. A pair of medieval doors here. Main entry in the Middle Ages. Side entry higher than the street level. Pull up the ladder. That's the so-called Porta della Morte, death door. Look what they have over the door. Pax et bonum. Peace and good. What Francis said when he preached to the crowds. And then you see rebars up here, anti-seismic devices, bolting into oak beams, putting counter pressure on the wall, which could buckle out under seismic activity. Another pair of death doors. The building is grayish. This is what all of Assisi looked like when we first moved here. Now a lot of the stone is cleaned because the buildings were restored after the earthquake. Earthquake, September 26, 1997. About 80% of the homes of Assisi had to be retrofitted. And when they did that, they cleaned them. So these doors here, no need for restoration following the earthquake. Look across the street. Everything, the beautiful pink and white limestone, restored following the 97 earthquake. And over this medieval arch in Maiolica is the cross that was spoken to Francis in the early 13th century, saying, "Rebuild my church." Phenomenon of the Middle Ages, when city-states fought each other, and you had to render your house a fortress. So during the day, you went in and out of your bottega or workshop. You might have been a carpenter or whatever. This might have been your wine cellar, olive oil cellar. And then there was a connecting door from the main entrance up into the house. You went up narrow steps into your house, pulled up the ladder. The so-called death door was always higher than street level. Pulled up the ladder, narrow, high steps inside, blocked the door, and you thus rendered your house a fortress. Why is it then later called death door, la Porta della Morte? Because if there was a death in the family, the body could be carried out, lowered in a shroud into the funeral cart, which would pass by just below the entrance. So, death door, you see them all over the medieval hill towns. These are in Assisi, Gubbio's rich in death doors, for example. Medieval architecture is still preserved. This too would have been a death door. Although the medieval arch is long gone, restored over time, once again over the door, Pax et bonum, peace and good. And this street, again, most of the buildings did not need restoration following the 97 earthquake. Here we have a lovely example of the narrow door, and there would have been a ladder pulled up at night, the door bolted, a connecting door to what would have been the main entrance during the day would have been bolted as well. Thus you're rendering your house a fortress with the use of the death door. Pax et bonum on the wall between the two medieval. The medieval arches, typical of the 13th, 14th century, would come to points at the top. And across the street, we can see a 13th, 14th century pointed arch. This would have been the death door. The wider door next to the house is no longer there. You can see part of the arch. And now there's a window, a more contemporary structure now.
So as you stroll the exquisite medieval hill towns of Umbria, Assisi in particular, Gubbio, you will note the defensive structure called the death door. A narrow door next to a wider door, the narrow door higher above street level. Often these death doors have been turned into shop windows, but absolutely exquisite to note as you walk through and reconsider the need for defense of these city-states in the Middle Ages. Enjoy your Umbria walk and don't miss the death doors.